Hello, RBY players, Ubers players, or whoever else happens to be watching. Sable here, back with the start of week 5 of Ubers Premier League. In this one, we've got B versus Maris, which is a matchup that I find exciting because I think the ways they both play, it's interesting. I think like the way B plays is very like by the book, bring good Pokemon at this point, and Maris's way is like, I'm not afraid to bring weird stuff or bring like normal Pokemon with very weird movesets. And I think that those kind of dynamics often create more interesting matches than when both people are like loading really odd teams or both of them are loading very normal, good teams. Not to say that the weird stuff's bad, but it has more volatility, is maybe the way I'd put it. So I think this might be one of those matchups that could be interesting like that. Either way, let's just hop right into it and see what they brought. Gengar and Starmie. So B probably not going to take risks here and stay in on the Starmie. I do wonder if Maris will double. And a Chansey from B. So like very by the book, I have a safety Mon in the back that can get sleep even against like a lead Starmie or Mewtwo or what have you. And gets the sleep. Wonder if he'll T-Wave right away to catch the obvious switch or if he's going to prioritize health. Okay. T-waving, I think, is the correct move. Chansey is not super valuable after getting sleep. I think it can be a bit of a liability on some teams. I think here you just start tossing it down and save that Gengar. And yeah, he does. So Starmie plus Egg from Maris so far. This could indicate like para spam supporting a Rhydon. Maybe a Slowbro, but I think more physical offense oriented. I wouldn't think like Kuno as much. Straight to Mew, so like threatening to set up right away. I do wonder if she's going to click T-Wave on the very forced switch. And does. Okay. Pretty good opening moves from both so far. A lot of getting free T-Waves, and she's just going straight for it. So she doesn't think this is a T-Wave Mewtwo, or she doesn't care. Could be that this Mew has Explosion. And right to a Cloyster, so be kind of thinking the same thing of like this could be EQ Boom. So Mew could be like one attack plus soft boiled. I don't think that's super likely if you're willing to commit it that fast on a Mewtwo. I think it's more likely this has Boom, but we'll see. And Clamp, unfortunately, does quite a bit of damage to Mew, so it's kind of hard to stay in on this if you don't T-Wave it on entry. I was thinking about this in last week's games when it was like me versus Ghastly, is if people don't call out enough of like the switches into a second Mon after you get that T-Wave or when a Pokemon's low on HP. But Mara's going to use this chance to try to get Starmie clamped, burn off a turn or two, or double out on it, either or, but be smartly just immediately going to Snorlax, pretty good into whatever Maris could have possibly brought in, even if she doubled. And now getting a free slam. No para, but that's still like you don't like having your Mewtwo at less than 100 versus a healthy Snorlax. And Maris revealing double T-Wave. Mew and Mewtwo both T-Waves. So all this T-Wave spam suggests to me some kind of physical offense where the last two would be like Bull plus Rhydon. Could be like Lax plus Bull. Maybe you go for an outside win con of like maybe you run like one physical attacker plus a Slowbro. But this is four T or four para spreaders and the egg also obviously has sleep. I would think the last two would probably be physical offense. It's possible this Mewtwo isn't like Blizz Boom or what have you, but I don't think the Mew is the win con, or she wouldn't have sacked it that early. T-Wave, Swords Dance, Hyper Beam, EQ is a set that I've thought about, but I think with the amount of T-Waves getting thrown around, you kind of need Soft Boiled on that Mew to keep it up. I mean, it is deceptively bulky. I would think physical offense last for her. On B side, Gengar, Chansey, Cloyster, Snorlax, so a lot of boom. I do wonder what the last is. I would think this team has very little T-Wave. You've got Chansey, Mewtwo, which like both obviously have T-Wave, but they kind of T-Wave the same targets a lot of the time. So I don't know if it's enough T-Wave to support like a physical Mew. So I do wonder what the Mew set is going to be on B's side, and if maybe this team like has another a T-Wave Mew and then a couple booms, and you're setting up Cloyster to try to clamp through. Um, I don't know. It's odd. Like B's team seems to be lacking something here, and I don't think the Mew can cover for everything that I feel like it's necessarily lacking, but it might be a bit of a read on what Maris is going to bring. So I guess we'll see. Like physical Mew kind of makes sense to me, but I feel like you'd rather have more T-Wave support than like a Cloyster and a Snorlax if that's the case. Like, at least have an egg over one of these or something, because you still have the boom and you have more T-Wave support, or Stun Spore in this case. I don't know. Like, if this is Boom Mewtwo, which I think it probably is, you've got 4 booms and then this random Chansey and then like a physical Mew, I guess? I don't know. It's a bit hard to read. If it is a physical Mew like that, then again, my problem with it is lack of T-Waves, especially with how prone Chansey and Mewtwo are to get blown up in these sets. Maris going for it again, so I guess we'll finally see what attack is coming. And I guess we will not. Never mind. So this Mew is getting dangerously low. It's going to be very hard for it to do anything. It can't really come in on Snorlax, can't come in on Cloyster, can't even come in on Gengar. This is getting scary. Like, this Cloyster is pretty close to winning the game. And continuing to clamp in the face of Mewtwo. So either thinks this is a mono Blaze or is just going to push this for all it's worth and then switch on the T-Wave turn, which I think is the more likely thing. Let's see, is this the turn it gets to act? Yeah, and Maris, actually, I really like that Blizzard, wisely calling that obviously B is not just going to stay in with the Cloyster. Partial trapping was recently fixed on Pokemon Showdown to actually behave accurately, which means both like the person using it and the other side can check if they're still locked into a move by clicking the fight button. But if you're not locked, you can back out and switch. So B just like milking that to its fullest extent and doing all the damage and then switching. The flip side is, of course, the person you're partially trapping also can see if they're locked or not. The thing is, if you are locked, you get stuck. You can't back out of that. So once you know you're locked, you're just kind of stuck sitting there. So both of them taking that lock to its furthest, and then when they both realize they're unlocked, B switches to not get T-Waved, and Maris wisely makes a call out on that switch, which is fairly likely to happen. I mean, there's very little risk to it, even as you saw, like, even if this Mewtwo got crit, it still wouldn't have been under half. And Maris just sacking the Starmie in front of this Mewtwo. I don't know if that's my favorite idea, because, like, there is a decent chance of amnesia, which is still scary. Slowbro from Maris, okay. So, the last should probably be a physical attacker, I would imagine. And setting up on this Mewtwo, so Slowbro is now faster. Now, B here, let's see, T-Wave, Amnesia, Blizzard. I would think Boom is the last, which means the Slowbro is still very not safe. But going to Gengar, of course Gengar is going to tank a +2 Slowbro hit fairly reasonably, so threaten it out with the threat of crit T-Bolt, but immediately booms. And that's an interesting coverage play. So, like, the most likely switches, of course, are going to be Mewtwo or whatever this last is if it's a good Gengar switch, but I doubt it is. So Boom obviously puts Slowbro too low to recover. Egg isn't likely to switch in because it's likely to die to Nightshade. Same for Mew. Starmie obviously doesn't want to switch into a T-Bolt. So that's a nice boom, forcing the Mewtwo out, and now this looks very B-favored. Zapdos from Maris. So this kind of fits the bill of a physical attacker, but I don't love it. This whole, like, 4 Pokemon that aren't the Mew and Mewtwo are just kind of get farmed by, like, Blizzbolt Mewtwo, which I haven't seen enough of, but, like, it's out there. And Blizzbolt Mewtwo, after 1 Amnesia, one-shots all 4 of those Pokemon. Mew can't really switch into +2 Blizzard. Mewtwo doesn't want to switch into +2 Blizzard. I don't know. I think this team... I think a lot of people are disrespecting the possibility of Blizzbolt. I think Blizzbolt Mewtwo is actually, like, a very good set. So I don't love this. I think, like, Zapdos being walled by Rhydon and letting it in on a Slowbro team also kind of sucks. I would have rather this be like a full physical attacker. It's not a bad team, don't get me wrong, although I do now want to know what this Mew set is, because if it's T-Wave, Swords Dance, Earthquake, Soft Boiled, then I don't think I get this team. That's like 6 para spreaders and nothing that wins hard enough to capitalize on them. Like, this Mew could have been Swords Dance, Hyper Beam, EQ, Soft Boiled, or even Swords Dance 3 attacks, with Boom being the last one. And I would have been like, yeah, okay, that's a valid idea. Your win con is Mew. You've got coverage for everything. Even like Swords Dance, Hyper Beam, EQ, and then like some weird coverage move like Surf would have been pretty sick. And that's like your ride-on answer. Instead of having to set up Swords Dance a bunch, you just surf it out and then you move on with your life. That'd be pretty funny. So I don't know. I've got some silly ideas. Surf is like very out there of an idea, but like you've got 6 para spreaders and not very much physical offense behind them, I don't think. My guess is this Mew is like EQ Boom, which helps enable something else, but like, where's the guy you're enabling? So, I don't know. I have some nitpicks. I think the Zapdos could have been something else. T-Bolt on Cloyster does 88 to 103, so like not very likely to KO it in just one. I think it's like a 30.8% chance, I want to say. And B just deciding, you know what, I'm just going to push some damage on this while I can. Everything is parried anyway, so like Cloyster can boom later. Just removing the Zapdos seems like pretty important. Blizzard Mewtwo blocks sleep, so you can sack the Chansey anyway and still handle this Executor. And now B just going for damage on things, take out what you can, and then just start boom, boom, booming down to win the game. Hyper Beam is a good chance to KO this, so I don't think I like that egg switch at all. So it's not like Maris has a switch into Hyper Beam, but I think the correct move is probably go to Starmie, tank the Hyper Beam, and pivot off of it to Slowbro or something, or Mew. But I don't think Hard Egg was ever it. Healing the Mew up, so there's like a decent chance that Cloyster could just miss if it clamped, but you just boom. And even if you hit the Starmie, I don't think you care that much with the Mew in back, which could be like a physically attacking Mew. I think at this point, my guess from how B played this is going to be a Hyper Beam Mew. Yeah, okay. I think the last move is Hyper Beam, and we'll see in a minute. And Agility slows it down anyway, so that's kind of a nice move, even if it is Hyper Beam. But yeah, I don't like love it on B's team. I think it's a bit lacking the para support that it needs. As I said, I think that team could probably benefit from having an Executor over one of Cloyster or Snorlax at least. Boom Spam plus some para would go really far, you know, like that's fine. If you have Executor plus Chansey plus Mewtwo all spreading para, and then you have Boom, 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 that enables a physical Mew nicely. I think this team may be a little bit off on the concept. I think you could even just drop the Chansey for an egg and then replace one of the other ones with something that has T-Wave and not Boom, and that's like acceptable enough. So that Hyper Beam would have killed without a crit. Maris taking a chance, like really just banking on lots of paras, which is the correct thing to do. It's really her only way out here. Ultimately, like Hyper Beam is going to KO as soon as it like properly lands on Mew and it's below like 80. Yeah, 80%. So B just going to keep hitting, not going to reset up for some reason. I'm not really sure what the reason for not just clicking setup one more time is, just to get the speed advantage. It doesn't actually give you very much attack because you already have 298 attack. So you're already at 900, so the fourth boost doesn't add that much, but the speed difference can matter. Ultimately, though, be realizing like Earthquake, 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 you do more than half anyway, and eventually the Mew's gonna para. So, gets that KO. Starmie now gets KO'd by anything, and that's the end of the game. So 1-0 for B. Now again, team-wise, just thinking like Maris could have used more of a win con instead of 6 T-Waivers. I think Zapdos' problem is like Rhydon can exist, and even if it doesn't, there's a lot of Mew and Mewtwo sets that don't mind taking para. B's side, just wish there was a bit more para spreading. That's about it. But ultimately, like in Ubers and every RBY tier, sometimes you make a little bit of concessions on some things to cover people's scouts to get an advantage. So it's not the worst thing if you have flaws in your build. It's just sometimes I like to see a bit more consistency on certain things. But anyway, hopping into game 2. Jinx lead from B, Jinx from Maris. This is annoying because it's one of those lead setups where it's just going to be down to a speed tie. And B wins the tie, but Maris just going to burn some turns off. And B clicking Body Slam to cover switches. I do like this tech on Jinx, but the one problem is you do let in normal types pretty easily. Now that crit, but if it didn't crit, that would have done like 12%. So yeah, Maris getting a bit of a free entry on that, but a counter. Okay, so this is Lovely Kiss Blizzard Body Slam counter. That's fire. I love that. Okay, that's pretty cool. And you know, one of the nice things is on a Jinx like that, because of the body slam damage, you never have a risk of counter low rolling, so you don't need to like lower your defensive EVs or something like that. Because if you body slam the Tauros on entry like that, it's good enough anyway. So I do wonder if B lowered defensive. Let's see, the body slam did 55. That could be a lowered defense, could not be. I think about 55% is the minimum where Tauros gets O-code by body slam. getting countered even if the Jinx didn't lower defense. Just thinking. Jinx has 333 HP, Tauros has 353. So yeah, I think about 55% is where counter becomes a guaranteed OHKO, which is why you might lower defense to ensure it does that because it could roll as low as 50. Anyway, works out. Staying in on the Mewtwo to just get an idea of what move it has and clicking Blizzard, which could of course freeze. And another Blizzard from Maris. So this seems like she's either Psy-Blizz or Mono-Blizz, and B taking the chance to try to push this hard, and now a crit Blizz would remove Mewtwo. Or a Para. So like the odds are honestly kind of in B's favor here. T-Wave from Maris suggests that this has Recover, because otherwise... Yeah, okay. So recovering up. Maybe should have done that before the Blizzards, I don't know. But either way, crit Lamp from B is going to force this out very quickly. Cloister looking poised to do a lot here. And again, not much T-Wave early from B. I do wonder if there's more T-Wave behind this to support a Cloister, or if it's just that he likes Cloister a lot. Bull coming in at the same time Mew comes in, then going to Rhydon to try to block an expected T-Wave. Ultimately works out fairly nicely in that you get in on Snorlax. A little bit of damage on Egg will go a long way here, so B going to sack the Jinx and then push. Now we see all of Maris's team immediately here. Tauros, Snorlax, Egg, Jinx, Mew, Mewtwo. I'm going to guess this is a T-Wave Mew, and the idea was para support alongside physical offense, which is kind of what I thought she was doing last time. Yeah, I mean, like, this is a pretty standard template of a team. I do wonder if the Mew has something weird set-wise going on, but I would expect T-Wave is the best enabler of these. But the fact that she threw out Tauros that quickly and didn't go like Mew on the Jinx or something. Because, like, even if Tauros didn't get countered, it would have eaten a Blizzard for about, like, half its health, and it took Body Slam on entry for a little extra chip. So this Tauros wasn't being valued, which makes me think maybe this is a win-con Mew. But again, there's just not enough para support here if that's the case, because T-Wave plus Stun Spore is just not enough. So I wonder, I do hope it's T-Wave, but I could see it being something weird and out there. And critting the Blizz, we've been over this a few times in reviewing these matches. Mewtwo with the Blizzard versus Eggy is honestly not very Egg favored. Interesting that he didn't go Cloister and take that Blizz. Of course, like, you're less likely to crit, and it doesn't KO from this range without a crit. But losing the Cloy, much less devastating, I think. But I guess, I don't know, could depend on what the Mewtwo set is. So Blizzarding again, no T-Wave, or at least no revealed T-Wave yet. I don't think there is a T-Wave. I think this is another Cloydon without nearly enough para support, which I don't love. Surely B has one T-Waver on this team, surely, right? Because so far we see 0. Okay, so this could be Amni Psyblizz Recover, or like Amni Blizz Recover Boom. I don't know, a few options. Mew coming in, getting out immediately, so it doesn't want the T-Wave on the Mew, tells me that this might be like a bit more win-conny Mew, or it could just be a T-Wave Mew being saved to deal with the other Mew, because you already have a paired Mewtwo that also has Amnesia, as it turns out. So I'm going to think this is probably Psyblizz, most likely, and Maris booming right away. Not quite ideal here. Like, you get Snorlax in, even if you tank the Hyper Beam on the face with Mewtwo, like, it's positionally good for B to be in this situation. Boy or Dawn both coming in just does a lot. Subbing, I think, is weird. I think just take your damage and move on. Does she not have EQ? Was this a read by B that she doesn't load EQ and this is a counterlax? Okay, no. So maybe it was a read from B that turned out to be incorrect, but I don't know. I guess she slammed there thinking that she needs para on Rhydon as a way to set up Mew as freely as possible. I don't know. Interesting. I'm curious what that's about. So Mew comes in, and I guess we're going to see what this has now. Swords dancing up. Obviously, we don't know if it has T-Wave, but if it's Swords Dance Mono EQ, that's not going to win anyway. Reflect. That's not what I expected, and again, I'm not seeing the T-Wave support on this team for all the physical offense that it seems to be running. Obviously, it's going to have one attack here now. It's going to have a physical attack, obviously. Why would you have Swords Dance otherwise? So you have 3 physical attackers that are relying on very minimal T-Wave support to actually get their stuff done. Okay, it's mono body slam, so it's not ever gonna win this. There's just no chance it wins. It'll get clamped down for a little bit, and then it'll get boomed, and that's the game. I do wonder what B's Mew set is. I have to imagine it. Surely it's T-Wave. You have a Cloyster and a Rhydon. I don't know. This is very odd. B is yet again running a Cloydon. This time the bull's not in the lead and there's not a Chansey, so like it doesn't even really fulfill the defensive idea that that Cloydon Chansey triangle gets. Like it's solid physical offense from the three of these combined. But you just don't I don't see the T-Wave support. Even if this Mew is T-Wave, it's just not good enough. So I don't know. I think a lot of people are not running enough T-Wave in this tier. I think people need to respect that more. And that kind of goes on both sides of this game. But ultimately, it looks pretty much one for B. I can't see how Maris is going to recover from this with a paralyzed Mew that still needs to set or reflect back up and not get stomped and not get para'd and not get all this stuff. And it can't do anything to this bull either. Like, all it has is body slam, so it doesn't even do any damage unless it gets super set up. Yeah, this is super over. Body slam is like a 5-hit KO if you get 5 high rolls on Tauros, so she'd have to reflect up, dodge crits, dodge flinches, dodge paras, and get a bunch of swords dances set up, and then break through this, and break through Cloyster, and break through Rhydon, and break through Mew all in a row. And if at least 2 of those have boom, it's not even possible. Because 2 booms will still take this down for like 60-70%, which is enough to win after any mild chip. So this is very much lost. We're just watching the death throes here. I do think B maybe had more efficient routes than trying to stomp it forever. Like this. I think you just go to the Cloy, you push a little damage, you boom, and you move on with your life. Or you just crit the clamp and then you win anyway. Yeah, even if this is a 2 or 3 hit clamp, you just boom afterward as soon as the lock expires, and that's the end of the game. Booming here is already game. Yeah. And GG. B takes another one. I think that brings B back to 2-3. I haven't been tracking records super closely, but I'm glad to see him bouncing back a bit after the early difficulties. Maris struggling a little coming into this. Ultimately, I think like she's got generally like decent ideas of how to play this tier. I just think that there's stuff like trying to run things like this Mew set, which I think are just based too much in trying to scout opponents. I've played on a team with her a fair bit, and I do think she very much leans in her scouts very hard. And I think in moments like this, you can see where that flubs. Like this into a Cloyster plus Rhydon just doesn't do anything. Into Tauros, it does very little. Into Snorlax, it does very little. Like there's just so many odds to lose with sets like this. So I think she just kind of overcooked in this one. Happens to the best of us. I mean, I've brought Aerodactyl in this tier. I've considered running Surf Mew more than a few times. I've brought Fearow, Charizard. So like everyone gets like that syndrome, a board mainer syndrome, where you just try to blow some stuff that's a little too out there, or like you read into a scout a little too hard and bring something that doesn't work. So I can't like fault her for that, but just don't think it worked here. Very funny contrast this game one team with 6 T waves, and then this game where it's just like 1.5 while running all the physical offense that I wish she'd put on this team. So I don't know. I think the ideas are not super far off. I think she just needs to change a set or two or change a mon or two, and then these will work. On B's side, surprising success with these teams that were very low on T wave, relatively low on boom. Even this team didn't have that so much boom to compensate. So I don't know. But either way, it worked for B, so good for him. And that's the end of this one. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, and I'll see you with the rest of week 5 soon.